Hey guys, I'm back here again. Got another quick video for you guys today. We had a guy drop off two machines over here this past week. One guy had one machine, another guy had almost the identical machine as well too. So this is like two separate jobs, right? I mean, two separate jobs for two different guys here. Sorry about screwing up in the first part of the video. So we have two machines that are almost identical right here for that. And one of my subscribers asked me to do a video detailing this type of machine and also the fuel line routing on the machine here as well too. So the one on the right hand side right here, this is the weed eater number 22, or I should say 22-inch Excalibur. The model number is GHT225, and then we had to do the following work to this one right here specifically. He needed the tank cleaned out, and needed a new fuel line, you need a new gas cap, new fuel lines on there as well too. So it basically needed a total R&R for the fuel system on here. A new carb, new intake gaskets, or I should say new intake gaskets, sorry about that. It has one intake gasket right here behind the carb that needed to be replaced. So the intake gasket, the carb assembly itself, the two fuel lines, the tank needed to be cleaned out, and the new fuel filter in the tank, and the actual gas cap, and it also needed the new spark plug in here as well too to get the thing machines, get it back up to spec out there for that. And I just want to do a quick video detailing these two machines side by side because a subscriber asked me about the fuel line routing on these machines right here for that. So I think the subscriber might have had a problem where he might have bought one at a pawn shop used, and the thing had the fuel lines are cracking or something, or they were like leaking. And I just want to do a quick comparison video here. So when you're comparing them on here, you always remember which fuel line goes where. Primary fuel line on these things, you have two lines on here. The smaller one right here is the primary we'll call inlet line where the fuel is being sucked up to the carburetor. That's a small one right here. This is going right up to the carb's main body on here for that. That's still attached right here. You can tell because this one's a lot thinner right here. It's almost like spaghetti. And the secondary return, the secondary line I should say, is a return line right here. Your primer bulb's on top, and your return line is directly below this one on here, specifically on this specific model. And you can tell that because the return line is a lot thicker than the input line. So the return line in this one right here, you can see this is a lot thicker in diameter when compared to the inlet line for the carb's primary fuel going up to the carb, the actual filtered fuel going to the carb itself. And this is what the fuel line looks like when it's routed down to the the actual trigger pistol grip thing, or whatever we want to call it, down with the tank. You have your two lines going down to the tank. You do have to remove the actual handle right here as well too. This is what the handle looks like taken apart on here. This thing has to be dismantled to get to the fuel lines on here to replace the fuel lines. Whenever you're putting the new fuel lines on these machines right here, always be mindful where the actual fuel lines go on these machines. This one right here is the primary input line right here. And as you see right here, the primary input line is the one on the back right here for that. This is the one closest to the back of the handle right here for that. There's the smaller line right here in the back, and the bigger fat line is the one right here in the front. So the big line is in the front right here. This is the return line. And the back one right here, the smaller one, this is the input line here for the fuel that has a fuel filter attached to it. So try to remember that when you're routing the fuel filter lines, or I should say the fuel lines back up to the carburetor for that. The other thing is the lines have to be put through this housing right here as well too. You don't want to crimp them or anything else, but if you crimp them, it'll cut off the fuel flow on here for that. You have to put them through a special slot they have right here on the side. You have this slotted area right here where we'll call the kill wires going here as well too. You have a slot right here. Get this thing out of the way here. You have a sheathing over here, goes over top of the actual kill switch right here as well too, and it has to go down inside this slotted area right here. You have a slot where it fits down inside here, and you put the kill wire back up on top, and you put the other portion right here so it fits right into that groove right on this input side right here as well. You push it inside there, and with this one we have the typical fuel line routed behind it. The small one is routed directly behind the kill wire right here. So you push that one in here, make sure it's all the way in. Then you have the other fuel line. It's currently, you know, it just broke right. It basically broke right off on me, guys. Sorry about that, but this thing was totally to run it off because it's getting extremely hard to even, you know, grab and you know squeeze on here. This fuel line looks like it's been on here for probably about 5 or 10 years. I just don't know how long, but it's quite in bad shape, and it just broke right off right there for that. And this piece would be routed in the front of the actual kill wire like so. So you put that right in the front like so, like that, and have it situated in the front. So whenever you clamp the cover back together on here, this cover will hold the entire fuel line and also the kill wire together on here for reference points. So that's how it goes back together, and that's how it'll be held in position like so on this second machine for, you know, for comparison purposes videos. So that's how it's supposed to be routed. I changed it around on this one over here. I put the fuel line over top of the kill wire. It'll still work perfectly fine, no problem. So that's how it should be routed on these machines right here for reference points if anybody wants to you know, care about that. If you have a machine, it's an older machine like this, you bought it at a pawn shop, or maybe it was actually given to you by, you know, some kind of a relative, and the relative didn't have any more need for it out there, and they just want to get rid of it, and you want to try to fix it up yourself out there for that, and you need to replace the fuel lines on a machine, because typically I recommend replacing them every 3 to 5 years, give or take. This customer, the one here that's basically ready to go right now, he had us fix this job here for him about, let me see, about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was about 3.5, 4 years ago. And in the course of that 4 years or wherever, the fuel lines that we put on, we put good Tygon fuel line on there. And I think he might have let the machine sit outside, and also got some water down inside the fuel lines, because they were getting almost to the exact same color like this one his has on this the secondary unit right here as well too. They were getting kind of you know, dark and opaque, and you couldn't really see them because fuel. The problem is fuel gets contaminated with water, and the water attacks the components like your Tygon fuel line, and you have to replace them on it. Plus, anytime you do get fuel contamination, you gotta replace the carb, clean out the tank, and always replace a fuel filter on it as well too. So doing that, and that should solve all your fuel related problems on your machine. So we'll go ahead and fire this one up right here, and we'll demonstrate how it functions over here for you guys. So stay tuned here. Let me put the camera down real quick while I get the thing started up here, so because I can't start up with, you know, 3 hands. I don't have 3 hands here, so bear with me for a couple seconds. Okay. This thing fire up in one pull, hopefully. Well, let's try it again. Okay, got it run. Sorry about that. Took a little bit longer than I thought it would. It's run good now. It was sitting out here for probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's why it wasn't starting up too good. So it's running good now. Got it up here again. Has a nice slow idle. Idles all the way up on it, and also the edge clippers are not moving as well too. You want these things not to move, because if they're moving if the actual hedge clippers are moving, you have to adjust the idle back down a little bit, maybe at a quarter of a turn or a half a turn, depending on how fast the engine's running, for the clutch to disengage on the bottom of the engine here as well too. So it's idling okay. Doesn't have any kind of erratic, you know, idling or anything else like that. So the engine seals are still good inside the engine. And we'll show you the feature on here with the actual, you know, called throttle lock on here. We'll do that right now for you. That's your throttle lock feature on there. Your throttle lock, it locks the throttle into full speed. Just push that down. your engine running at their full speed when you don't want to constantly shut it off. You start it back up, shut it off. Do that and grab it. Push down on there. So it's ready to go back to the customer here. Let me go in the driveway over here for we get a better sight of it. Okay, there we go. A nice side shot over here for that as well too. Running good. Not putting out any kind of smoke on there. The front end of it. Everything else looks okay on the clippers on there for that. Carb looks good, no leaking anywhere on it. So it should be ready to go back to the customer with no problem out there for that. We always test run these machines for at least 5 minutes to make sure they're functional for the customer before we get it back to them. And it guns up with no problem out there as well too, so we can get some side shot of that. And we'll demonstrate the throttle override again here as well too. I'm gonna shut it off now. So it's running good, no problem. Ready to go back to the customer. So if anybody has any comments, questions, whatnot about this machine right here, feel free to leave me a message here about it, and I'll try to answer any basic questions you may have about this specific type of machine, and we'll go from there. I'll see you guys. Have a nice day.